cakewalk.
Let's bring in Stacy Keach. Freaking legend, man.
I like the way Travis jumped.
Yeah, I like
when
that.
you said something, Travis jumped.
It's nice to see.
And that should be the reaction around here.
The great Stacy Keach. How are you, sir? Opie, Bill Burr, Jim Norton.
How are you? How you doing?
Of course, here to promote Lights Out Tuesdays at 10 p.m. on FX.
Yeah.
And other things. I hear there's I think he's in a play. Roland was just telling me, right?
What's that?
Are you in a play as well?
I'm doing a play at Lincoln Center.
And it's getting amazing reviews.
Well, that's always good.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
It's called Other Desert Cities, a new play by John Robin Bates, and we're playing it over at the Mitzi Newhouse Theater. Wonderful cast: Stockard Channing, Linda Lavin, Elizabeth Marvel, and wonderful young actor named Tom Sadowski.
And what's it about?
Well, it's about a family living in 2004. It takes place in 2004 in Palm Springs, and a Republican family whose daughter has come back to announce that she's written a book about a very tragic incident that happened in their lives 28 years earlier when their eldest son rebelled against all the Republican family values. He was a liberal and went out, bombed a Marine recruiting station, killed a man, and then presumably committed suicide. And the daughter has come back to Palm Springs to announce that she's written a novel or a memoir about this situation, and of course puts the family into an uproar.
So the play is a comedy.
Yeah, very light. Very light stuff, light fare. I'll tell you something, there's a lot of funny stuff in it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you find as an actor, because you're obviously a complete veteran, do you find, like, we just talk about acting, and it's very difficult to do, and theater acting just seems harder to project without acting like you're yelling?
Well, that's a very good point. But another thing that people think about the theater is that how can you do the same thing over and over again 8 times a week, And generally speaking, what people don't understand is that it's always a new experience. It's always very much a now kind of experience, and it depends on the audience, and it also depends on the other actors. And this particular play is like a little bit like a jazz fugue, where everybody has their solo. Everybody plays their riff, and Robbie Bates has done, I think, a miraculous job with the writing. But it depends on the size of the theater. The Mitzi Newhouse is very small, so when you're there, you feel like you're in the living room with these people. But I mean, I played venues with 2,500 seats, and that's. You do have to start shouting in order to get heard. Because
what's the worst experience you've had, like doing a play? As far as, did you ever just completely forget your lines, or be in a scene with another actor who just completely spaced and you had to wing it?
Exactly. Oh, I've had that experience. Yeah, I've also had the experience where I actually, in fact, it was my Broadway debut many, many, many years ago, where I was riding this imaginary horse, and it was a horse that it was. I had reined. I could control the horse's head. It was made out of, some material. It was, and I was so nervous. I got on stage and I pulled the reins back on the horse's head, and the neck snapped. And I had to get out of this costume and pick the horse up. I mean, and ad lib the whole first.
Now, was the crowd laughing at that point?
They thought it was part of the show. They didn't know.
You played it off well.
Well, I guess so, because somebody came back a couple weeks later and said, "What happened to that wonderful moment when you broke the horse's neck?" Oh, God. But I've had experiences also with people, they just go completely up. You look in their eyes and they don't know what the next line is. They have no idea what's
what happens on the next performance when you've completely lost faith in that actor? Where you're just like, oh, God, this guy's going to leave me hanging again?
No, you don't lose faith. You just, you make sure that you sort of rehearse it a little bit more before you go on that night.
Yeah, but they must see the fear in your eyes, or the anger, or something like, let's go, buddy.
I think, generally speaking, when people go up like that, they're in such a state, they don't really know what to do. So, one time I remember a story that a very good friend of mine told. He said, he began to announce to the audience, he says, now what happens here is, because the actor who went up, he just left the stage. He walked right off the stage. He just disappeared. So he left the actor hanging out there, and he had to just, You know,
Now
so-
that has to be like the equivalent to war. That's like leaving your platoon. I mean, that's got to be unforgivable.
unforgivable. No, you can't do that. You got to stay there. You know, you have to muscle
Did you guys
through.
like beat him with your scripts afterwards?
Beat you, damn it. Learn your lines.
What do you do though when that's a great question. Like when that's happening, how do you hint to the guy what he's supposed to? How do you get him to his line?
Well, if you know that's one of the reasons why it's important. I think sometimes for an actor to know the other person's line just as well as they know their own. Because is it? Do you mean that you need to go and see the doctor
The plot
tomorrow?
point?
Yeah.
You could do their line. And that's a lot of remembering. I just want to remember my lines.
That's what.
That
generally
seems
speaking.
like a nightmare to know everyone's lines in a play.
It is.
It is.
Yeah. No. You don't. You know, it's hard enough to learn your own line.
When you get a new script, are you just so? What goes through your head? Like, I gotta freaking memorize all this
Well,
stuff?
you know, I always think it's important, if you can do it, to memorize the script before you go to rehearsal, before you get into rehearsal, before the first day of rehearsal. Because if you don't know the music, you don't know how to play the notes. I mean, you got to know the notes. You got to know what's going on. You got to know what those, because you can't really start to work and start to act until it becomes part of you.
Sure.
And a lot of actors wait until they know what the blocking is, the staging, before they start memorizing. And I think it's dicey. Everybody works differently.
What is it? Just to interrupt you here, because that's an interesting point. Like Brando would learn the lines. Like when they were like, all right, rolling, like that's when he would start looking at his lines, like while they were on the wall in front of him, and he
That's right.
wanted it to be spontaneous.
Well, as he got older, he had problems.
Did he want it
with
to be? Was he lazy?
No.
Probably spontaneous. He's a weird guy.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, he was a great, one of our greatest actors
Of
ever.
course.
I mean, but he used to literally have lines plastered on the other actor's forehead. So when the camera was on him, he'd be looking at the actor, but he'd be reading the lines on the forehead.
Wow.
You know, he
How
had
humiliating
trouble
for the other actor. I'd be like, yeah, dude, I get it. You're Brando.
If you're working with Marlon Brando, I don't think it's, it would
But
be,
yeah,
Did you
lines on
ever
your
get
forehead.
a chance? Did you ever get a chance to work with
I
him?
never had a chance to. I met him and I spoke with him, but I never had a chance. That's one of when I would have loved that.
Were you ever intimidated working with somebody else, like somebody that you had liked, or somebody who you just admired that you finally were doing a scene with, and you were?
Well, I had the great privilege of working with George C. Scott. He had a movie called The New Centurions years ago. It was a cop movie, and he had just done Patton, and he was hot.
Right.
And he was a wonderful, wonderful man, and he was a theater actor too. I mean, he was a real actor, but nevertheless, he had a temper. And I'll never forget, we were shooting a night scene in Los Angeles, and we drove up to this grocery store in the scene, and there were a lot of people standing around because they knew George C. Scott was there. And he got out of the car, and everybody started, yeah, me, hey, there's Patton. And he stopped, he looked, he says, I'm not Patton, I'm George C. Scott. He didn't like being identified with the character. He didn't, and I was surprised by it. But I also understand it, and, having done a few characters myself over the years,
What's the character people yell at you the most?
Well, when I go into airports, sometimes people say, "Oh, didn't you used to be Mike Hammer, or didn't you used to be the warden on Prison Break?" Mm-hmm. The other day, somebody came and said, "Didn't you used to be Stacy Keach?"
Talking to Mike Hammer right now.
That's what I love the '80s. You can't have a character named Mike Hammer anymore.
No,
that's
a porn name.
That's a great name.
It's a porn name.
You didn't have to know what the show was about. You just knew that guy didn't take any crap.
Oh, no kidding.
Mike Hammer.
Yeah.
Watch out for Mike Hammer.
Yeah, Mike Hammer is a man's man, no matter what he does for a living.
Now, Mike Hammer's still alive too. We just did a radio novel, 2.5 hours on radio. It's a CD. It'll be out in March. It's called Encore for Murder. It's like a book on tape, but it's done in a radio show format with other actors playing the other characters, and with all the Foley, footsteps and gunshots, and it's pretty good.
You're also getting props for being Christopher Titus's dad. I did not see
Titus.
Yeah, you were on Titus.
Yeah, Titus.
A lot of people loved you on Titus.
That was
said
a
you were
great
hilarious.
show. Oh, I love that show. I love Christopher too. I mean, I think he's one of the great comedians. And the show was fabulous. It was,
a lot of people are saying, don't forget to mention Titus.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but we haven't even talked about the new project, Lights Out.
Lights Out.
Tuesdays at 10 p.m. on FX.
Tuesdays at 10. That's our news time slot. Yeah, we're very excited about it.
Jimmy's seen the first 3 episodes so far.
Yeah, I saw the first 3.
What do you think?
Great. I mean, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was, because sometimes Roland will give us the disc.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a sitcom. And I'm like, Stacy, he's like, all right. And then I watched what it was, an hour-long drama on FX.
Right.
And the opening scene in the pilot is it's a brutalized boxer. He's just, he's been through a fight,
right,
and he's bleeding, and and I thought it was you at first. I'm like, wow, fucking Stacy looks great, but it was obviously not you. You'd play his father. I felt like a complete asshole, and I probably shouldn't have shared that with you. I just humiliated everybody in the room.
Makeup.
But no, it's a great story of a guy whose fighting career is over,
right?
And Stacy plays the father, who's also a trainer, and they own a gym. Right. And the guy from The Wire who Pablo, I don't know his last name.
Schreiber.
Pablo Schreiber from The Wire.
Yeah.
Plays his other son, who's kind of the guy managing the gym, and it's the 2 brothers and the father, and the things they have to do to make ends meet, because apparently the finances have run out.
Right.
And it's really, really an interesting story.
Yeah, he was my eldest son, played by Holt McCallany. He was the ex-world heavyweight champion, and he lost his title, and now he's on the comeback trail to try and regain his title. And one of the reasons he lost his title it has something to do with my character, because he was ahead on points in the fight, but he had a big gash under his left eye, and I advised him, I said, stay away, you're ahead on points, don't blow it. And then the other guy came forward and started to score points, and he lost the title. So there's a certain amount of complicity that Dad has to live with and deal with, and retraining this guy to get him back ready, get him ready for the ring, and get him ready for a rematch with Death Row Reynolds.
Do you, when you go into a role like that, do you create a backstory or do you just kind of do it as it comes along? Like they say when you're creating a character, that like Meryl Streep will create like a backstory or have secrets. You do that?
Yeah. You have to sit down and sort of write a biography, basically, of the character, and use your imagination. Or you can talk with the writer and with the director, and sort of, it's a collaborative effort where you develop what happened, where'd this guy come from, and I think it's important for actors. Most actors do that. Good actors do that almost every character they play.
And how many episodes is this? Because they gave us 5, and I watched the first 3.
13.
Oh, it's a full. Okay, it's a full.
Yeah. It's 13, and I think that one of the good things that FX did was they gave a lot of people the benefit of seeing all the shows before they wrote the reviews, and I think I think that's a very smart thing to do, because then you get a sense of the whole picture, the whole.
Instead of just writing a review after seeing one episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That is smart.
Yeah.
And the reviews are really good on this. FX is they're doing some good things.
Yeah, and that's also like that vote of confidence, 13 episodes. They don't really do that nowadays. It just seems like
Stacy
they
Keach.
give you like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And try to see if you can have a hit, stand out in those 600 channels. I mean,
I know,
you've actually
it's tough.
seen like how much like it's like, what was it like being on TV? Or something. Like I would just think when there was only 3 networks.
Right.
If you were on something, did you feel like that? Just walking around, you could tell people were watching the shows.
It was
more?
a whole different world in those days. I mean, when we did the original Mike Hammer. I think Fox was in the picture at that point, but even earlier than that, I did a show in the 70s called Carib, which was like a precursor to Miami Vice, black cop, white cop situation, living out of Miami. And we only did 13 shows. It was a Quinn Martin show, and there was only 3 networks at that time. But there were no reality shows in those days, and there was a lot more drama, a lot more comedy. There was a lot more action for actors. Now, with reality shows and real people taking over.
Oh, it's brutal.
It is. It's hard. It makes it a lot tougher because they're not,
May God bless him, but I got to admit, when you sit there as actually, as a performer, and you watch like Snooki doing panel on the Tonight Show, you're just sitting there going like,
really?
What do I got to do? That's what I had to do.
Obviously, you got to funnel a lot of alcohol into your mouth.
Be a skank. That's what I got to do.
Everything in sight, and then you get to sit on the couch. It is crazy. I feel bad for you guys.
TV has done it to themselves in a way, because first of all, there's so many channels.
I think they got lazy though too, Jimmy.
Very lazy.
It's
the
so
writing.
much easier and
It's
so much
economics.
cheaper just to throw a bunch of young, good-looking people in a house
That's
and film their shit.
I like how they're running out of dramatic jobs to make shows about. So now they got like a show like this guy, he makes cakes. And they're trying to
cake
make
boss.
we got to make this cake by Thursday. I don't have the frosting. What do you mean you don't have the frosting? And then they cut to the guy going, yeah, so Mike was mad we didn't have the frosting. It's like, dude, there is nothing going on
Bill,
here. This is a half hour of shit.
I would understand 1 hour of that, but he's up to, I think, his third or fourth season, still just making
You're kidding.
cakes.
Still making cakes?
Oh, I guarantee you somebody cries at some point.
It's Stacy. Don't watch Cake Boss.
I won't.
You'll jump out of a window.
Well, yeah.
I
generally speak, I watch sports and news.
Yeah. What do you got with sports?
Well, like we got a big weekend coming up.
Yeah. Who's your team?
Jets.
Right on. You're a New York guy.
I am, absolutely, but it's going to be a tough game.
Well, he's a Pats fan right there.
Yeah.
Big
Tough
Pats
game.
fan.
We've gone 1-1 this year.
I know.
That's why I don't like I was saying that all that trash talking is stupid because it's actually going to be a great game.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think
Yeah.
they're going to cover, too. I think the Jets will cover.
What's the spread?
8.5? Or
Oh,
10,
yeah. I think it's going to be a
Stacy's
close
got
game.
some action on the
It's
game.
going to be a close game.
8.5, yeah.
A lot of action on the game, Stacy, or just fooling around a little bit?
No, I'm a low roller.
Low roller,
$10,
just fool around?
$20.
Oh, okay.
Just for fun.
Yeah.
What part of New York you from?
I'm not from New York. No, I'm living in New York now.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm doing this show. But
Right.
and we shoot Lights Out here in New York. We shot it over in Astoria.
At Silver Cup?
No, Hellgate Studios.
Oh, Gates.
But and if we get picked up for a second season, or I should say, when we get picked up for a second
There you
season,
go.
Good for you.
I think we're going to we may move to Silver Cup. I've been told that. I don't know. We'll
Where
see.
did you where were you living in LA before you got the series?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, but I lived in New York years ago. And I lived all over New York. I lived in the Village. I lived in the Upper West Side, and various places. I'm very happy to be back. I really am. It's been a while, and
You picked a really bad winter.
well, not as bad as last winter.
We're up there already.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh well,
It's cold out there.
it's cold. No, this
A
is
lot of
Cold
snow.
today, but no, they
People-
totally overhyped the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people going out buying all that food. It's like you can live 40 days without food as long as you
course
have
you
water.
can.
So you got the snow.
Yeah.
You can eat the snow. You're gonna be fine. There's gonna be 8 inches of snow. It's like wow, that's almost up to my calf.
I don't get the,
How will I ever go out and get some chicken?
Yeah.
I don't get the people that have to go to the grocery stores and
It's
just.
all fatties.
It's so weird.
It's their one night where they don't feel guilty for throwing all that stuff down their
good
throat.
theory.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Very
They go out,
good
they
theory.
stock it up, and then it's like, well, we don't want this food to go bad.
Right.
No.
They're making chocolate-covered chicken.
I like it.
Yeah.
It says here, this is about one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, but didn't. You're one of the a really acknowledged Shakespearean actor. I couldn't do Shakespeare.
Have you ever tried it?
Just in moments.
All right, here we go. To be or not to be. Go ahead, try it.
Come on, Jimmy. You can
Come
do
on,
this.
Jimmy.
Let's go.
Go, Jimmy.
To be or not to be.
Very good.
Wow.
Thank you. He's a great actor because he just lied saying that was good, and we all believed him.
No, but have you noticed, like, all like truly well-trained actors, Shakespearean actors, they have that you have that I can't. I'm trying to give you a compliment here.
Yeah.
That tone in your voice, that relaxed, like you're sitting here, but you just feel like you could project all the way to the back of the theater. Like there's a few guys. I remember I seen like Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey's great.
Yeah, Kelsey has that, like, he's Shakespearean trained. Like, you guys
He
are like
is.
you
No,
guys
he's
are
a
like
very
the real
well-trained-
actors as opposed to. Have you checked out my IMDb page?
Stacey, what is it about Shakespeare? I don't get it, and it seems like a lot of people don't get it. It
Well,
seems like a niche thing in this day and age.
It is, and it has always been, I think, in this country. Well, except not in the 19th century, obviously, but Shakespeare for me, it's like climbing mountains. It's like they're big challenges and great parts and great plays. I mean, Al's doing Merchant of Venice right now on Broadway and having a great success with it. He's a wonderful actor, and Shakespeare is like the quintessence. If you can do Shakespeare, it's like they say in the theater. You can do just about anything.
Could they change it so we can understand it?
Well, I think
That was my biggest problem reading that in school.
Reading it is a whole different thing.
I don't know
Generally
what the
speaking, you
hell's
got
going on
bad
here.
teachers. You got
Probably.
bad. Yeah,
Probably.
But if you had a good teacher, or if you go and see a good show that's well done, you should be able to understand it without any problem. There shouldn't be any difficulty. And I think that's true of the current production of Merchant of Venice. It's on Broadway. I really do.
It's actually
Yeah.
true because if you watch like Telemundo, if you really sit there, you can figure out what's going on after
By
a
the
minute.
body language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody's yelling.
Yeah, a lot of yelling going on.
There was
A lot of big boobies, too.
whenever you watch like Shakespeare,
hot.
British actors.
Bill goes, yeah, there's a lot.
British actors sometimes just kind of deliver it very politely. And then I saw Brando do it. I want to say it was Spartacus.
No, it was Julius Caesar.
Oh, Julius Caesar, where he's kind of like eulogizing Caesar in front of this giant audience. It's like an 11-minute monologue.
Yeah.
And he really fucking...
I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's awesome. Jesus. That was awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
But he believes everything he's saying, and it's like he's not doing it he's doing it the way you would actually feel emotion. It's like that's the first guy I've ever seen actually do Shakespeare, where you can like, oh, okay, that is really interesting to watch, and you kind of do pick up what's happening.
The trick with Shakespeare is always been is to make it sound like a contemporary language, so it's totally understandable. Yeah. That's the trick in doing it, and doing it right. I mean, and doing it for a modern audience. In America, we don't have much of a tradition of Shakespeare, and that's one of the problems, I mean, except in certain places, like in the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C., which is a great venue, and I've done a lot of shows down there. And one of the greatest training grounds in America is the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in Ashland, Oregon, for young actors. And it's, you're right, it's a niche thing in a lot of ways, but I think when it's done well, I think it's very well appreciated by, and as I think Merchant is proving.
By the way, no disrespect, sir. I just never.
No. Okay. I hear you. No, I understand. A lot of people feel
I drive
because I think most, kids particularly are not given the opportunity to learn it from good teachers.
Did you ever get to do like Hawaii Five-0 or any like classic TV show?
Love
Dragnet?
Boat.
Yeah.
Happy Days.
Well, I was doing Mike Hammer in those days, Mike Hammer.
What years was Mike Hammer?
82 to 85.
Yeah, but that was when you made it. You were already like established. Like,
well, yeah, because I'd done movies before that.
Yeah, but when
I didn't do any of those shows at that particular point. In later years, I've done a lot of guest shots.
What was Cavalcade? That wasn't the Gleason one, was it? Because he had a show called Cavalcade, I think, or was on one. The Honeymooners, I think. You wasn't that one of your first shows? Was Cavalcade a series in the 50s?
No. It could have been my dad, because my dad's name was Stacy Keach, and I was Stacy Keach Jr., and then my dad went to Stacy Keach Sr.
When did you start acting? Like, when did your career kind of...
And the first thing I did was about 1962.
Oh, okay, yeah, that must have been your dad.
Yeah.
All right, could we have...
So none of those classic 60s Hogan's Heroes? You never did any of those? You went straight to movies?
I was in movies in those days.
And that was back then. If you were a movie guy, you were a movie guy.
That's right. And it was like you didn't want to do television. In fact, I mean, you wanted to stay in movies. So how did you do that? Did that take like some sort of like inner strength where your agent was calling you with TV stuff and you were just like, no, I'm not doing it? Until the phone didn't ring and I wasn't getting any movie offers, and then they called and said, you've been offered a series called Carib.
Yeah. You're like, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it. I did it. Yeah.
Did you like it?
I loved it, but America didn't like it too much. We did 13 episodes and it was down, But that was, that's what happens in an actor's life. I mean,
that's always a fun to be on a show that's kind of slowly sinking and everybody's walking around with their resume under their arm, but they try to keep the performers happy. Like, no, everything's great. Everything's great.
No, it's no good. No fun.
How horrible is it when you're at because I've been to a movie premiere that I was in. It's one of the worst films ever done, and it was like a real low grade movie. And just to watch at a premiere, what a terrible movie you're in is humiliating.
When you see yourself in a bad movie.
Oh, I stunk. The script stunk. Everything stunk.
You just knew it was a bad movie.
Everything stunk.
You know when it's a bad movie, right, Stacy?
You don't necessarily until you
see it, see the final product.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're making it, you think, "Oh, this is going to be great."
Yeah.
I made a movie years ago called Doc. It was about Doc Holliday, and I did it with Faye Dunaway and Harris Yulin and Frank Perry directed it, and we thought this was going to be, it was a big studio movie.
Were you thinking Oscar?
Well, no. You're just hoping that people would come see it. Yeah, It's a good solid movie. And I'll never forget, we went to that opening night screening, and we were sitting in that seat looking at this thing, and we're sinking lower and lower. Every scene was, we knew.
It stunk.
It stunk.
If I'm ever in that position, if I ever have to do I would wave, say hello, I'd walk into the theater and right out the back. There's no way I would ever sit and watch myself.
I don't know
No way.
I don't know if you want to answer this, but who do you blame? Because when you're in the
you blame
moment,
yourself for taking
but you're
the
in the
job.
but you're in the moment. You're thinking, I'm right. My performance is good, and you know.
No, I didn't think my performance was good. No.
Oh, really?
When you saw it,
No, I
okay.
didn't know
Well, that's
anything.
pretty honest. I don't think most actors would say that.
Well, no, I didn't like myself.
They'd blame
at
the
all.
director or something. You
I
know?
was
Or the
gonna say,
editor.
yeah, have you
Or
ever
the key
felt
grip
like,
guy.
Have you ever
You'll find somebody.
You ever feel like you delivered a great performance and then you go and you look at the editing and you look at the takes and you're just like, what is this guy doing to me? Because I feel like
exactly.
they can take a great performance and knock it down a few notches. Or if
Yeah.
you did,
It's one of the reasons why I don't go and see my own stuff anymore. I really I don't like to see myself because of that very experience. A lot of times when I was as a young actor, I would scientifically and methodically say, I'm going to put this piece together with this piece and this piece of behavior with this piece of behavior, and I had it all worked out. So. And I went to the director and I said, I love take two. Can you use take two and not take three or not take one? And he would say yes. And I go and see the final film, and nothing that I did was there. It was all different, completely changed. And I realized that that's the prerogative of the director and the editor and the producer. There's nothing the actor can do to control that. So the only thing we as actors can control in the movie business is what you put down while you're shooting, the behavior that you express. That expression is all you can do, and the way it's manipulated and put together with other actors and other scenes is not out. You have no control over that. So I don't like to go and see it, and I'm
totally
happy
makes
with the
sense.
process. I'm happy with the process, not the result. That's what I mean.
Have you seen the new show? Have you seen Lights Out?
I've seen pieces of it. Yeah, I like it. I think it's terrific. Yeah.
It's very well acted. The relationships are believable. It's not cheesy. It's not politically correct. It was such an odd moment. There's one scene where two guys are breaking into a car, and they're both black guys, and that's not a big deal. But in the way TV is done today, they always mix it up just so as not to, like, no matter how unrealistic it is. And it's just like these little things that were not PC in the show made me really like the show.
Good. Yeah, well, I hope you're not
I'm looking
alone.
forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, 10 o'clock.
Yeah, well, I want to get that plug out. Lights Out Tuesdays at 10 on FX. So
I want to do a project with Stacy Keach.
All right. What do you want to do? We'll do some Shakespeare.
I can't do Shakespeare. I don't know any lines.
no, I
pretty
get it.
good.
Stacy teaches Jimmy Shakespeare.
and Jimmy can teach you
We'll
a thing or
animate
two,
it.
Stacy.
We'll animate it.
Jimmy can teach us.
I'm really not a good actor, and this is I tell every real actor that comes in here that my problem is that with my I don't know what to do with my hands when I act.
Just be yourself, man. Just be yourself. What you just said with your hands is perfect. You're just expressing yourself. That's it.
But as we're talking, I can do that because this is real life.
Because there's no piece of tape on the ground that tells you to stop and
Right.
sit there.
But if somebody said action, my hands would just be stiff and really unrealistic, like a wooden puppet.
Well, the hardest thing to do is to make that transition. You said this is real life. When you're acting, it is real life. But an actor doesn't. I mean, it takes years of experience to know how to. You're playing another character. But when that moment comes up, it's real life. You're just being.
Are you really listening when another actor's talking in a scene? Have you heard the line 50 times?
You better be. Otherwise, it's going to be very obvious that you're not. It's not good. You have to. Listening is very important. Acting in movies particularly is reacting. It's not just saying words and running down the street and shooting guns, things like that. It's reacting. It's listening. Listening is really important part of not only acting but life. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So, all right, the Jets-Pats game. Tell me what's going to happen with this game, Stacy. Come on. Help me out. What do the Jets need to do in Foxborough to get this done?
Well, they've got to control Brady. I mean, they've just got to.
Billy is saying maybe eat the clock, do a lot of running.
Yeah, maybe so.
Gotta eat
I
the
think the
clock.
running game is going to be very strong. I think it's the defense. It's that defensive secondary. That's what we got to. That's what we got to worry about. I think a big question in my mind is the over and the under. What is it?
Oh.
Is it like 45?
Yeah.
Hey, Stacey, you remember Jimmy the Greek, right?
44 and a
Wasn't he
half.
great?
44 and a
He used to
half.
do
44 and a half.
That's that's a tough number. Yeah, that's
Sure is. 45-3 last time. That was 48.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be a shootout.
I don't know.
That's like how Jimmy the Greek used to
they're just
talk
gonna
about
pound it
games.
out. Yeah.
I'm taking the Lions with the points.
Yeah.
So you can't say that anymore. You gotta act like gambling.
He
doesn't
says he only has
exist.
a little action.
That's what I do.
Which means he probably has
That's what I do. Yeah.
For him, a little action. He has Stacy Keach money. He probably a little action for him is probably 20 grand.
Well, he said 10 or 20.
Right, yeah.
So now you're thinking 1,000 instead
Of course.
He's like,
he doesn't play games.
I wish. I got 2 kids in college. I can't mess around with that stuff. I'm a low roller.
All right, Stacy, we should get you out of here.
Yes,
man.
Hey, man, this is good.
This was great. We didn't even get to talk to you about Cheech and Chong. I remember you Up in Smoke. That's when I came to know Stacy Keach. So people must still come up to you.
Yeah.
And quote that movie.
I love that movie. Yeah. That's when I love those guys too. I just think
they're great to us. They come in.
They're great.
Whenever they
and they're
can
back
and
together.
call.
I'm so happy. And there's a possibility they're going to, there's another movie's in the
Have you seen their stage show?
I not only saw it, I busted them. We were in Houston at the time. I was doing Frost Nixon down there on the road, and they were doing their show in Houston, and I went over there as Stadenko and came on stage and busted them.
Wow. How crazy did the crowd go?
They loved. Oh, they went nuts. Yeah, they loved it.
Who are you in Frost Nixon and the play, right?
I was Richard Nixon.
Wow.
Yes.
How was that playing? Is it harder to play a guy that everybody knows what he looks like and sounds like instead of creating somebody?
It is in a way, it is, because you've got first of all, and a great actor, Frank Langella, played him originally, and one of my buddies, and I didn't want to do anything that was, like that. I wanted to create my own deal, but you still, you have to. There are certain things you have to do in order to be Nixon. There's a certain rhythm and there's a certain vocal there are mannerisms that you have to do, but beyond that, you've got to get beneath all those mannerisms and find out, where the core of the character lives in you. Where's the soul of that guy?
Did you like him or dislike him more?
I liked him
after playing him.
I liked him. It's a wonderful play. I mean, it really is a terrific piece of writing, and the director, Michael Grandage, had a very interesting concept about the nature of these interviews, because David Frost and Nixon, they were sort of, two peas in a pod looking for the same thing. One wanted to resuscitate his career. David Frost thought that he was going to suddenly, get out of the talk show rut and be considered, now he was going to be considered a serious journalist. And Nixon, of course, wanted to do the interviews in order to resuscitate his image, because he, after Watergate. And so the dynamic was fascinating.
And Nixon was much better than Frost thought he would be at talking his way out of things, I think, right until the fourth and final.
So. Yeah, exactly. I think that's true. Yeah,
all right.
No, I love it.
All right, Stacy.
Let me lights out. It's Tuesday, 10 o'clock on FX. I wish I had seen more of them. The 3 I saw were excellent. It's a great story, and I really did. I liked it so much, and I'm very happy for you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And the play. I might go see that play, too.
Yeah, come over and see us.
It's going to be around for a while, right?
End of February. We'll be showing over there.
And you should come back and we'll hang out some more.
That was our way of asking for comp tickets to the play.
Yeah.
Bunch of cheapskate radio people.
Yeah, Stacey, we don't pay for anything at this point in our career. So if you got a few free tickets, hopefully front and center, we'll be there for you.
All right, man.
Stacy Keach, everyone.